the highlight of creation is that the man can speak. But I must tell you, thinking back in terms of those years and those days, those dark days, God has not yet created a person, a human being, who can really relate in terms of speech what transpired during those days. I've read books, I've seen films. That does not tell the story. There was no food, there was no heat. Somehow, we managed. We existed. How we existed, I really can't describe, I can't tell you. I don't know. But little by little, even this was gone. There was no wood, there was no food. And the situation and the ghetto became unbearable. You could see literally people walking the street and dying. And it became so prevalent that when you saw, and I remember that myself, you saw a person on the street dying, just in body. And there is no system that you can tell really people they should have a concept of what transpired. Even the things that I'm telling you, I'm just using words. But things that actually happened, they were not only disastrous, but there was something that you felt that you are not living in a real world. If you haven't had an extra half loaf of bread, that meant that you could probably live another 50 years. To have an extra half a loaf of bread meant, like, for instance, a make makes today $5 million. It was a question of life and death. Every piece of bread was a decisive factor whether a person can survive another day or has to show it now. You mentioned to me that I should look up into a certain book. I should look into a certain book. Our books were still there. We took our books with us. We went from our house into the ghetto. That I should look into a certain book at a certain time, and I will find something which will be very important for my mother. I did not understand what he was saying. I could hardly understand what he was saying altogether. But after a certain time, I reminded myself that I thought it said something that I should look into that book. So I went through a certain section of the library, and I found a book. I even remember the name of the book. I found in one of these books, and the book was Egli Tal, I found in this book a get, written and conditioned, that if my father does not ever return, that my mother should have no problem to remarry. When I think today, then I was a young boy, couldn't understand what it meant. I didn't pay it much attention, and I don't think we ever used it, because we're all taken away from which all come to. But I think now back, and I said to myself, this man, being in such a disastrous situation, still could think to go to a sofer, it was written on a cloud, to go to a sofer, to write a get al snad, that in case if Hashem does not return, that his wife should not remain an Aguda. I don't know. I can't explain this. This man must have been a superman. I've never heard a case like this. We were herded into the trains and shipped off. At that time, we were taken to that place, boarding the trains. The only ones who stayed together were my brother and myself. I have a younger brother in Skopje. My sister I have not seen ever since, and neither have seen my mother. We were separated. I don't know where they were. I don't know where they are. But coming back to my brother and myself, because that's all I can tell you. We were taken into the famous camp known as Auschwitz. My brother and myself could still walk, so you had to go through selection. All masses of people standing, and in front of you was a German SS officer. And he decided who should go to the camp and who should go the other direction. The other direction meant certain death. No question about it. Somehow, my brother and myself were lucky ones. And the SS officer directed us to the right or to the left. We finally had the scoot to come into the camp, if that was a scoot. Some order came from above that they need 500 people to be taken into a small camp somewhere, an unknown direction. We were placed in the middle of the night at 3 o'clock into fives. It's 5 in a row. How many do we need? 5 in a row? How many rows do we need? 100. My brother and myself were the last 5 rows. After we hopped on the truck was locked. And those who stayed behind, none of them is alive. All of a sudden, one German comes along and he says he is looking for a washer, a chemical washer who knows how to clean garments with chemicals. I said, I'm the one. I can do it. So he asks me, what do you know about it? You wouldn't believe it. I remember when I was a kid, I used to stand next to my grandfather, my Zaidi from my mother's side, and I remember he was naming certain chemicals that he used. So right on the spot I said, there was such a thing, hydrosulfate, varan, and other things that I remember. So he says to me, yeah, there is doch ein Wäscher, oh, sure, this man knows what he's talking about. Into the they had a washing machine, a special washing machine, where they cleaned this stuff. This meant already life. In the beginning of May, I think 1944, we were transferred again by foot into certain villages. We're taken into villages. And we're forced to walk. Until I think we walked about 240 miles within a week. So we stopped, and we continued. We stopped, and we continued. Germans changed guards, and we continued. Until they took us again into trains, and we were taken into, after a journey of about 8 to 9 days, we came to Bergen-Belsen. I'm sure you've heard the name Bergen-Belsen. Bergen-Belsen, we were about 3 days until the British arrived, and the camp was opened, and that was the end of it. No.